just like to give everyone a thank you for coming to this live stream. We're just kind of doing some tests at the moment, testing out the OBS software on both Discord and YouTube simultaneously. Some of our Discord users were like, hey, if you had this on YouTube, I could be able to watch this because I'm on another stream. So now we're doing 2 streams, one to Discord and one here on YouTube. So this is the first live stream I've done on YouTube. So we're all kind of doing this as a test, make sure everything's working right. As far as this mixer goes, this is a Mackie 32.8. I still have my R16. I use that for my smaller sets. I just basically outgrew the Allen and Heath at this point. It's just I needed more input, so my back end is a 2X Ferrofish A32s. That gives me 64 in and out over Maddie. It's been working really solid. I'm really happy with it, and that's connected via an RME Maddie face. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Is that any better? How about now? Still working on the format and just seeing how we're going to execute this going forward. So appreciate everyone showing up for this. I didn't expect to get so many viewers so quickly, so that's awesome. So right now we're just testing the format, working the bugs out before we really go live with this. So thanks for pointing out about the mic being lower than the music. Still working on that, and we'll just work out the bugs as we go throughout the show. So right now I'm just working on this track right now on the S1000. Everything that you hear is from the S1000. We're doing an S1000 jungle track since I really haven't done one on my channel yet. Been doing a lot of restoration to this, new PSU, RAM upgrades, new faceplate. It's kind of my work in progress right now, but otherwise working on a track right now, and thank you all for coming, and this is what I'm working on. The track is called Run the Tunes. So some of the ideas that we're kind of working on with this channel is like kind of a different format for the way I've been doing my videos. I've wanted to make this adjustment for some time. I've kind of gotten sick of the whole, like, everything's just point of view from my iPhone. I decided, why not get a little more creative with this format? And so one of the things we're going to start doing is we're going to do tutorials on, like, how I do certain things on these old school workflows, covering, like, topics more in detail, kind of like whatever people think it would be like a topic of interest for the stream. We have a Discord, and whoever would like to join it can join it, and basically we all can kind of like build up some ideas, some topics, and just kind of like cover these different ideas, because there's we got a lot of the new school stuff out there on YouTube, but when it comes to like making jungle on these old school samplers, they're just I think there could be more out there, and especially dealing with like the SCSI and the things like using recycle on these older machines with these older machines, and just how to kind of do this in 2024. So if you got any ideas or any subject matters you'd like me to cover, feel free to either drop it in the chat or join our Discord. And we basically have we're developing an active community there as well. So so right now we're just basically, I'm just doing a studio session on this track, building out some ideas with the break, and just seeing what works, what doesn't. And basically the way I do a lot of my break work is in quarter note chops. I'll just kind of show you real quick in DAW view here. Everything's a quarter note chop, which I do in recycle, which really makes the process seamless, straightforward. I don't have to transfer the MIDI file from the PowerBook over to the Mac M1, which I do have that ability if I want to get more technical with it, but kind of like for convenience, the quarter note chop works good, because if I want to do a 200% stretch on that, that quarter note becomes a half note, so makes the musical math really easy and simple that way, and keeps everything pretty well on time. I also, one of the things I do differently, if you weren't noticing, is when I do my time stretch pitch ups, I actually don't do that with the key groups. I do it with the pitch wheel or the pitch bend parameter. Pull one up for example here. So you'll see here, like, this is the half note right here. You can see over here. That's the 200% stretch right there, and these are 200% stretches that are pitched all the way up by a whole octave. So basically, then it becomes a quarter note. Time stretch sped up gives you that like extra metallic sound. Like, we'll just isolate the track real quick. Play that section. So that's kind of how I achieve that effect. If you also do it, the pitch bend from one extreme up to one extreme down, and you get that 400% stretch on the same slice. So multiple different ways to do this. And as I've been working through this genre, I've learned that there's more than one way to do the same thing and achieve the same result. But this is just the way I achieve the result. So I'm going to keep working on this track. And if you got any ideas for future topics of consideration, feel free to drop that in the chat.
Yo, want another one?
Well, at least I know the mute works, so that's good. Yeah, basically what I was saying was like, I agree. I was thinking about adding a few more vocals to this track. Just gotta dig around, search, see what sticks, what complements, and what just generally vibes with the track. So I'm thinking of somewhere at some point adding this somewhere in the mix to kind of like give it an alternation from the other variations of the stretch that I already have. So as we keep working through it, we'll just kind of see what sticks, what doesn't, and just narrow it down to a couple of additional choices and keep moving with the track. I got 75% free memory on this machine, so I got plenty of room for additional stuff. Yeah, if you could get some vocal stems, I would be curious to see what we could do with it. Definitely open to that idea. Now, the part I've kind of had a bit of indecision on with this track is if I want to leave the current intro portion of this or if I want to change direction with it, because when I started this track, I wasn't really thinking I was wanting to go raga with it. That kind of came more towards the second half where I'm like, I think I like this direction better than the one I'm on. Yeah, I agree on the intro vocal. Are we talking about in the first section of it? Because I've actually been thinking about just cutting it all together because I feel like I've just kind of changed directions and it doesn't really fit what I'm doing right now with it. Let me know what you think in the chat and then I'll keep working on it. Decided to drop that one vocal there just to see what I would like to put in its place. think I might put that 1,000 time stretch maybe right before it drops into the bridge. Feels like it'd be a good way to transition to mood.
Yo, want another one? Run back that tune, yeah.
So just to kind of clarify what you're saying, Bean, you're saying it's it's this element right here, which would, I'm just gonna solo this real quick just to make sure we're talking about the right one. That's the that we're referring to in the intro, because that's the part I'm kind of thinking, do I even want to keep this or not? And I'm kind of like 50-50 at this point. I'm feeling like I could put something better in this spot. Kind of thinking what I want to do with it at this moment. just to answer Big Wabowski's question about which computer besides the Atari is the best for MIDI sequencing on high BPM, I think an obvious shout out would definitely be the Amiga, especially with Octamed, Pro Tracker. Amiga was very heavily used in a lot of these older jungle productions, and especially the tracker format. The only downside with some of the earlier versions of Octamed and Pro Tracker is you're kind of limited in your polyphony, your MIDI channels available. Typically, you can only do like a full like 16 MIDI channels on like a single cable. So that's kind of some of the downsides of that. I think Octamed Studio later on was able to do a few more channels than like just 16. I think it got up to 64 at some point. As far as other vintage options, I definitely like the vintage Macs for sequencing because of the eMagic Unitor 8s. I'm a big fan of them. That's why I basically run my entire studio off of them, because they're reliable and they work everything from the Mac Quadra 700 behind me to the Mac M1 in front of me. So you get like 30 plus years of like compatibility, operability. It's like unheard of in the current realm of like a piece of equipment working across a multitude of platforms. Having that long of driver support is just simply amazing. So that's one of the reasons I use the eMagic Unitor 8 series of MIDI interfaces, and also the ability to use it as a giant MIDI patch bay, which means I can take an Amiga or an Atari with like 1 to 3 MIDI output ports, and then just take all the equipment I have in the racks and the setup and use the patch bay configurator for the eMagic Unitors, and then basically tell it what I want to do from there. So that's why it was so adamant about sticking with the Unitor 8s. I could have gone with the Mio XL, another great option, but for how cheap these eMagics are going for right now, I've got them on average for about $75 to $100 a piece. The Milo XO is currently about $400, so span that over 5-7 interfaces and you're getting a significant savings going the other way. So that's one of the reasons I made that switch. So I just want to thank you, Bean, for pointing that out with the other sound elements that I wasn't hearing. I realized that the Mac OS screen capture was going on in addition to my microphone aux input, which basically my Mackie 32.8 and giant interface is feeding my Mo2 M4 for this broadcast. So basically my entire studio is being funneled into a Mo2 M4, and that's what you're currently hearing right now. So still kind of working on this mix, and yeah, I apologize for my confusion earlier about the auth thing. I was like, which auth are we talking about? I don't remember an auth like at the beginning of the song, and then I looked down and I'm like, oh yeah, I had it still active on the end that I wasn't hearing, so thanks for pointing that out. something I've kind of noticed on these machines is when you do a time stretch, like it will sometimes, like for some reason, the sound will get a little quieter than the source material was. And so if you listen to this sound real quick, I'll just kind of show you what I'm talking about.
Yo, we want another one. Run back that tune.
The run but the tune is a bit quieter than it originally was in the original sample. So I'm thinking about going back and normalizing that part of the sample. Unfortunately, the S1000 doesn't have normalizing built into the machine. So that's something I'll have to do on the MacBook or the PowerBook. SCSI transfer it over to bias peak, normalize the section, put it back into the sampler.
Yo, we want another one. Run back that tune.
A couple of questions that were asked that I wanted to answer. FYN or Finn asked if there are any particular artists that I draw upon for inspiration. I got quite a few when it comes to jungle. I think a lot of what people are doing in the current scene, there's a lot of great material out there right now, and even that's been kind of hard to keep up on. Just all the new stuff coming out. IJO is someone who I really follow closely as far as like his production techniques, because he uses the S1000 just kind of like I am right now. And so I've drawn a lot of inspiration from his material, his workflow. And of course, I would definitely say Thought Forms. I mean, my S1100 was originally from Thought Forms, as well as the Alpha Juno and the S5000, which I really haven't used in a production yet. But those are all machines that I acquired from him, and also his being so adamantly into Korg got me kind of into the whole Korg thing. So therefore I have a whole rack full of Korg machines like the Korg Triton, M1R, N1R, and the TR rack. I definitely, from an equipment standpoint, took a lot of influence from Thought Forms on that one, and I would say Increth gave me a lot of inspiration to go into the EMU route. Now I started with the E4XT Ultra he sold me, and then later on picked up the original Emulator 4 first gen and the E4X Turbo second gen. So definitely took a lot of influence on that direction from him, and also just kind of the general studio layout that I have, going with the Ferrofish units, the Mackie 32.8. He definitely gave me a lot of influence to go that direction with my mixing setup. And to answer further on artists, would definitely say, I'm trying to think from an old school standpoint, definitely Wax Doctor. Wax Doctor definitely was a big influence on a lot of my atmospheric works, especially the tracks Heat and Finer Things, which I think that whole pad is probably probably comes from the Alpha Juno. It's just like the same pad over and over, but for whatever reason, it just works. The simplicity of the tracks that Wax Doctor made just were so incredibly effective. Like, they weren't very complex tracks, but they were like, how can you make something so simple like hit so good? And so I definitely took a lot of influence from that. My tracks Wax was basically kind of an ode to him in that sense. And as far as the Isla S2400, I've had a lot of interest in that unit. I like that there's a lot of active development from the developer on that unit. And I think it's a very interesting machine with a lot of interesting possibilities. I do have the original SP1200 behind me. I plan to do a few more productions with it. I've tried Jungle, but with 10 seconds of sample time, I just find myself like always like running short. Like if it had maybe 15, I mean, I know there's the technique where you speed it up, and that basically buys you another 3.5 seconds total, but you also lose your ability to kind of like work the pitch. Yeah, I've also heard with the S2400s, Bloody Cactus is pointing out the workflow is a little problematic. I've also heard that there's been some build quality issues with the S2400, which is a little discouraging, but with active development, maybe they'll hopefully get better with that. But it's basically, your miles may vary. It's the way it always kind of goes with these machines, new and old, especially old, because sometimes you don't know what kind of issues you're going to have with the machine. Years down the road, I have an S950 that needs work and would love to use it again, but just struggling with the motivation to tackle that unit right now when I got so many other units in the arsenal. It's almost like if something goes down, it's like I don't miss it because it's like I got another machine I could go to instead. This is basically it, just like waiting to kind of hear if things are like sticking out more than they were before. I would say my biggest challenge in the studio is losing objectivity, especially the longer I'm in it, because I just kind of fall into a trance listening to the track.
Yo, want another one? Run!
It's always kind of good to like just be able to step back every so often, come back, and just revisit ideas. At some point, if I get around to it, I might check out the S2400, see what that machine's all about. I think it has a lot of possibilities, and I like the direction that they're going with it. Right now, I'm just kind of going back to that one time-stretched element that I'm talking about normalizing. Basically, what I'm doing is I've fired up the PowerBook G3, which is in a SCSI chain with the SCSI 2SD and the S1000. Arriving tomorrow is my DVI capture card, which will allow me to capture my older machines like this and have a direct display on here. So I'm just kind of waiting for that to show up at some point, and that will be another part of my setup is showcasing these older workflows in my live streams and being able to clearly see what I'm doing, especially when I'm doing work in recycle and bias peak. So right now I'm just getting ready to pull up that sample, which I believe is this one right here.
Yo, want another one? Run back that tune there.
So that's the sample there that we're going to pull up in the bias peak. So I'm going to use bias peak 2.5. Let me change camera angles real quick. So if this, when you're doing this in bias peak, you just go to sampler. Akai sampler is the option we want, obviously. It shows the SCSI ID is 6, and it shows all the samples in memory in list form. That's what this screen is showing right here. And the sample that we're going to want is the Run the Tunes TS. Every time I do a time stretch, I always kind of just label it TS. Just that way I can, in the sample list, identify which sample I want to work on. So we've selected it, press receive. It is dumping to the PowerBook. So we're done with that. And here's our sample.
Yo, want another one? Run back that tune there.
So I'm not sure how well that picked up. It probably didn't pick up the greatest, but this is kind of, I think we're just going to normalize this whole section, honestly. Just go to audio and find the normalize feature, which is right here. And enter amount of normalization. We'll just do 100%, see how this turns out. Okay, so now we've normalized the sample.
Yo, want another one? Run back that tune there.
Okay, now that we've processed this sample, we go back to Akai sampler, go back to that sample in memory. And here it is. And we're going to send the updated normalized one to the sampler. So you press send. It is now sent to the sampler. Now we'll preview it on the desk.
Yo, want another one? Run back that tune there.
So it's definitely louder than it was. I'll probably have to, what I'll probably do now is I'll just probably, honestly, just normalize all of them. That way everything's uniform. So that one, and let's just do them all while we're at this. Close out this window, go to DSP and normalize. Do it for this one.
Yo, want another one? Run back that tune there. Yo, want another one? Run back that tune.
All right. We'll also normalize the sample, and then we'll have everything fairly uniform in loudness. It's always good to have everything that's uniform so you can get it. And send to sampler. Okay, and that's sent to the sampler. Hopefully in the right spot.
Yo! Yo, want another one? Yo! Run back that tune there.
Oh yeah, I gotta fix that one too. do the same thing to this sample. All right, there we go. So everything's been normalized now. We can get this all sent back to the sampler. Or not. Might have to reboot this. Sometimes you just encounter these things where you're in the middle of a workflow and it decides to crash. Might have put a little too much demand on that SCSI bus. See if I can just force quit this real quick. I just had to do a complete reset on that. All right, just reload the program real quick. Pulling off the SCSI 2 SD, it loads rather quickly, so clear memory, load this up. Currently this project, as it stands, is about 6-7 megabytes. And I think this song so far has about 60 samples so far. The S1000, if I remember right, has about 128 slots for memory for samples. So while we have plenty of memory, we have to be mindful of the fact that we only have about half of our sample slots left. So basically, can't get too much crazier with chops and might have to go with longer samples. So when you're working with these older machines, you always kind of think about what are your limitations, what are the rules that you're working with. In this case, an S1000 is going to have 16 notes of monophonic polyphony, or basically like for stereo, it's going to be 8 voices because each mono voice is a voice, so stereo is 2. And so when you use stereo, you cut your polyphony in half. Something that you don't normally think about in a modern production, but something you definitely got to consider when you're working old school like this. And let's just see if our song is recalled. Okay, so we're back in business on that end at least. So we're probably going to wrap up this session for now. Thank you all for coming, and this was kind of a unplanned test of